This is The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 80, recorded October 27, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host and editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is our keeper of comics here at TV Enthusiast, Will.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about Legends of Tomorrow, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Westworld, and Black Mirror. Now, I want to say, preface right up front, Legends of Tomorrow we're always going to be a week behind on because, for me, the episode, literally, I think just finished airing, tonight, so, and Will watches as a cord cutter, the next day, so we couldn't watch it before we record. So we'll be talking about the episode that aired tonight, meaning Thursday, next week, as we'll always be a week behind on that show. Just has to do with recording stuff, just the way things lined up. But, let's kick things off with Legends of Tomorrow. So, this was an episode in which they went back to 1942, I believe, to Nazi-occupied Paris, and they encountered the Justice Society of America.
Who are none too happy to see them, by the way.
Immediately think that they're spies for the Fuhrer.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a big happy superhero team up. They get they get captured by the JSA, and treated with massive suspicion. But eventually they convince the JSA to let them go, and they part ways, only to find out that after they part ways, the Legends have every intention of just continuing with what they're doing, but then they learn that after they leave, the Justice Society take on a mission, and they all die. And it's like, shit, we gotta go back and save them.
So they go back, you have, Martin Stein, pretending to be Hitler's favorite opera singer.
Also, you got Martin Stein, I guess, trying to take on the leadership role of the team because,
failing
monumentally, just not being able to step up and do it. And he takes over the team based on, the assumption from, one of the members of JSA that, the old white guy has to be the leader.
Of course. One of the kind of through lines in this episode that was kind of more interesting was, there's a character, who is, he came in the last episode as a time historian, or what did he call himself? A time detective.
Yeah, he called himself a time detective in the premiere, yeah. He's a historian.
He's with the Legends now. He goes back, he encounters the JSA, and his grandfather is a member of the JSA.
Yeah, his grandfather is actually, one of the members of JSA, so he has a direct link to the JSA. This is literally the most relevant this character has been so far. Other than that, he's a time detective, and he is frail as shit.
He's got,
he's a hemophiliac.
Yeah, hemophilia. I kept thinking hemochromatosis for some reason, because that's something my mom has, but that's a completely different thing. He's a hemophiliac, which means if he bleeds, he'll just keep bleeding. And that includes internal bleeding. He just is unable to clot.
And you know what? No sooner do we learn this information than he gets blown up and gets close to dying.
Yeah, he's suffering internal bleeding. Ray ends up finding a super serum that was used by a Nazi earlier to Hulk out.
Look
kind of like the Abomination.
Yeah, we got bootleg Nazi Hulk in this episode, in the form of a super soldier serum. So that's like bootleg Captain America stuff.
Captain Hulk Erica.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the line, but I think Ray Palmer or something makes like a vague swipe at Captain America with that. It's not a direct reference, but he says something snarky about the concept of a super soldier serum.
As they do something far more ridiculous.
As they do something far more ridiculous, yeah.
But Ray ends up, but he's captured by the Nazi. In order to kind of like hold his position with it, he's like promising to help the Nazi like develop the formula so that he can replicate it so that he can keep taking it. The Nazi can. Ray has no intention of giving it to him though. He actually wants to give it to himself to give him power. So that he's not just, a man in a suit, because he was criticized with that for some reason, which, I mean, he should have just responded the way Tony Stark did, which is, what are you without your suit? He's all billionaire, philanthropist, genius.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. What are you without your suit?
So he could have responded the Tony Stark way. Instead, he got all butthurt. And scared that he really wasn't a hero.
Yeah, because, at the end of the day, Ray Palmer, he might be a billionaire, he might have a super suit, but he has none of Tony Stark's swag.
Yeah. So, he ends up, he refines this formula, and, when they kind of are able to make their escape and get out of there, he wants to use it on himself, but he ends up giving it to this, time detective because he thinks it might save him. For some reason, I guess like super soldier serum just like cures hemophilia.
I mean, makes sense, right? Because it turned this one guy into the Hulk, so why would it not cure hemophilia and save a guy from death? Why would this formula not suddenly do something completely different? Yeah.
It also cured his gingivitis.
Oh, yeah.
Gave him minty fresh breath.
Yes. It's also Viagra.
So this is what's going on kind of throughout the course of the episode. They go back, they're fighting against the Nazis with the JSA after they get found out for being spies, I guess. They get kind of discovered.
They get discovered. They get discovered because it's really Ray Palmer. Because they have the Nazis fooled. Stein is going undercover as an opera singer, and he's up there, he's singing, and he's doing a very good job of it. This Nazi guy is in tears, at the performance. It's really hitting him in the feels, right? And at the end of it, he is so verklempt at the end of it, right? So he just he salutes, and he expects everybody else around him to salute. Most people around him salute because that's what they do. But then he notices, Ray Palmer is over here. He's not saluting, and so he gets, well, what the hell is your problem? Why aren't you saluting? And Ray Palmer tries to half-ass some excuse about his arm not, hurting or some shit, but it's not working. The excuse is just not working. He demands he salutes, and Ray Palmer can't bring himself to do that, even undercover. And so he just resorts to punching the guy, and they get found out.
And Jax is like, why didn't I get to punch him?
yeah, exactly. Jax is like, why did I get to punch him?
He actually said something racist to me. But you just couldn't even do a salute, Ray.
Nope. Ray Palmer, worst spy ever.
I think that's pretty much it, right? That's kind of it for the...
No, because we forgot the ending, which is the based god, Reverse Flash, kills Our Man, and that's basically where it leaves. But yeah, we got one last scene of Reverse Flash just generally being an awesome villain, like he always is.
And Our Man's last utterance is time traveler, which is
time traveler.
You had to say that, basically to leave them all confused and thinking it's the Legends that did it.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's a time traveler, and then plus she's okay, which of the 12 people that were time travelers we just encountered? Because you gotta be more specific. Our Man. Jesus.
Why couldn't he just say yellow dude?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Yellow dude. Then
yellow dude.
Then they'll be they'll be looking for a banana or something.
So Legends continues to struggle with certain issues. I think the structural problems that were there in the first episode of the season weren't quite as bad this time around. But this time around, you just had like annoying character quirks with Ray mostly, I'd say.
They still haven't made Ray's character like not dumb. It's
the kind of like ridiculous leadership storyline with Martin Stein was just kind of, it felt weird. Him like feeling like he'd be a great leader and then like taking so long to discover he's not, and like the way that was kind of resolved, it just felt off, you know? I don't know. It's still suffering some problems. It's still not finding its legs, but I gotta say, still great not to have Hot Girl and Hawkman. I just wish like one of the JSA members would like stick along with the crew, and then they'd pick up, I can't even think of his name, Jonah Hex, and have him be part of the crew. We need people from different time periods, you know? It's still an issue.
Jonah Hex was in like the trailer for this season of Legends, so he's definitely making a return.
Yeah.
He's definitely coming back. They showed him, so we'll have to see for that episode, but I think that's going to be exciting.
What I want to see is I want to see these people from different timelines brought into the crew and time traveling with them.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's what I want to see. Like, it's kind of boring to see, like, you know, 6 people or whatever from the same time traveling together. It would be more interesting if you had this kind of a sorted bunch.
Like, a sorted bunch, if you had like a Bill and Ted type thing where they just took all these people from history and like brought them along with them.
Well, like if they had like a JSA member in their crew and, you know, that's somebody from the 1940s, and then if they took somebody from, like I said, like Jonah Hex, you know, from the Old West.
Old West, yeah.
Then you kind of get these like fish out of water kind of moments that really work well in time travel stories, but you're not really going to get because everybody's from the same era, which is the same era that the audience from. And so you're not getting that, you know, as much. It's just kind of it's a little disappointing. You know, who knows though? I think they were trying to make a big deal about, what's her name when she was cast? The character that's like the grandmother of that character, of the hunter or vixen that we'd already seen on Arrow, before. And like now we see her grandmother and she has like the same power where she can channel the animal abilities. They were kind of making a big deal when they cast her, more so than with some of the other, JSA people. So maybe she'll go with them or something, you know, and she'll be like a legend and be on the road with them. But I want to see a fish out of water kind of element added to it. I don't know. I can't get as attached to the characters. I think Sarah is fun. Mick really isn't all that fun without Snart.
No, he's not.
The two of them together were fun. Last season, that was probably the best part of the show was Mick, Snart, and Sarah. The combination of those three was probably the most fun aspect of the show. But, you know, it's just, they don't really have a great chemistry or a great way to make these characters click with each other to really kind of make what they have work in an optimal way. It's still probably better than season 1 so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's better than season 1.
But there's still room for improvement, so hopefully they do. Now let's talk about Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In the way of comic book shows, much better.
Yeah, much better, especially so far. Yep, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What can I say? It continues to be good.
Ghost Rider continues to be awesome.
Oh yeah, Ghost Rider, that vengeance demon, vengeance shall be mine, saith the Ghost Rider.
He had one of the coolest scenes this episode when he fucking burned that one guy alive.
That gang leader, alive.
And then he walked out of the cell, out of the fire.
I loved him just strutting out of like the prison, like all those rioting prisoners suddenly they saw him and they
were locking themselves back in. That was awesome.
Oh, that was just badass. I was like,
they had to pair it with him doing something really stupid too, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course, because like he's supposed to be protecting his uncle and then he just lets him go and get captured by this ghost who's hunting him just so he can burn this guy to complete his vengeance, And I get it because it's revealed that the gang that guy was leading was responsible for killing his brother, or not killing his brother, for crippling his brother.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I'm like, yeah,
probably killing Robbie, because that's kind of how Ghost Rider's made, right? They have to be on the verge of death, and then they make their contract. So we're supposed to get that next week. We're supposed to get the origin story.
Okay, I am not up on my Ghost Rider lore, so I'm not gonna speculate there. But yeah, it's
it's been good. Did you catch when they showed the kind of flashback scene with the people that are the ghost right now, or at least the woman? I think her husband, she doesn't know where he is or something. When they found the book.
Yeah.
Did you notice the Easter eggs in that scene, where they were?
I did not.
So apparently, and I didn't notice this either, I saw something later on that pointed it out, and I was like, oh shit. That was supposed to be Johnny Blaze's house.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they basically made a real direct implication that Johnny Blaze does exist in this universe.
Okay, so they made direct implication that Johnny Blaze does exist, and that the Ghost Rider we see on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't the only Ghost Rider.
Yeah. So there was, I guess there were pictures, and there was motorcycle paraphernalia everywhere, and lots of little clues to hint at that. I didn't pick up on any of them, but later on I saw something where
I didn't pick up it because I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about it's hard because there's so many characters and stuff.
Yeah.
In Marvel that you're not gonna pick up on every little thing, and it's oh yeah.
It's cool though. I like that somebody found that and that they pointed it out, and now I have this knowledge too. This is the great thing about the internet,
Yeah.
Any Easter egg gets discovered quickly, and then everyone goes, oh,
I see. Interesting.
So that's really cool. I like the idea of that. Apparently, Johnny Blaze does play a part in the Robbie Reyes story of Ghost Rider in the comics.
Right.
That comes from the same, I haven't read the comics, so that comes from the same source that I saw this, that I heard about the whole Johnny Blaze thing in the first place, same source. But yeah, that's just kind of a cool touch. It just kind of furthers the kind of mythology of the Ghost Rider as he fits into this, which is really cool. I'm still kind of hoping they maybe do something like Johnny Blaze as a Netflix Ghost Rider series.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe they're gonna do something else with Johnny Blaze.
But that would be just really cool. So that you'd have, Robbie Reyes on S.H.I.E.L.D. and Johnny Blaze in the Netflix Defenders verse.
Yeah, Netflix Defenders verse. Yeah. Well,
that would be really cool though if that's how they kind of set that stuff up. But because we all want to see Ghost Rider X Punisher storylines, right?
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, I'm trying to think what else do we have going on in this episode. Oh, in the jail, when they're going in there, they end up having all the cell blocks get opened up by the one ghost, and all the people in this one cell block are all what's the group called?
Watchdogs. Yeah,
Watchdogs.
Watchdogs are using the prisons to recruit. That's not even but the other besides all that stuff that's happening in the prison and the breakout of Robbie's uncle that Robbie screws up because vengeance must be mine. So outside of that, you have this other subplot with the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Jeffrey Mace. He's we have we're introduced to this because Simmons is nervous about her lie detector test that she has to take.
Now that she knows about Ida.
Now that she knows about Ida, she has information that she has to withhold. But, if they ask her if she's hiding any information on her lie detector test, she's gonna fail it. So she's worried about this. Good reason to be worried about it. It looks like she fails her lie detector test, and then you see Jeffrey Mace step out, and he calls her forward to be with him, and she's like, oh shit. she's like, fuck, this is happening. And so she goes back with him, and he reveals that he needs her help with the debate that he's holding 15 minutes from that conversation. He needs her input on a debate. So he goes to do this debate with the senator that we saw from the last episode, who we actually saw is working with the Watchdogs, or is leading the Watchdogs.
Let me stop you right there real quick, because I just wanted to point out that I think it's hilarious, all the little kind of moments they had between Simmons and him, where Simmons thought she was caught again or something, and then it turned out to be like, what I need is like access to all of that information, and she's all, well, even S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't have that technology.
Oh yeah.
He's all, oh yes we do, and she's all, oh shit. And he's all,
oh yeah.
He's all, a communication terminal. You can talk into my ear. Go on now.
Well, I mean, so he does the debate. The big thing with the debate, though, is like Jeffrey reveals to the world that he is himself an Inhuman. So,
yeah,
which nobody really knew beforehand, except for like maybe like a very small inner circle of people. But this is the big reveal to the world, and it, because of something she said or says during that debate, just forces him. Well, he turns off the communications with Simmons, and he ignores her, and he gives this big, well, I'm an Inhuman, and it's kind of like, whoa, and that turns out that ends up boosting his numbers, I guess we end the episode with, then we turn around, right after your view, Jeffrey turns to Simmons, and he says, well, hey, I noticed there were some aberrations on your lie detector test, we would like you take that again. And Simmons comes out with a brilliant way to get out of taking it, because she calls Jeffrey on a lie that she knows. Yeah.
And she was able to pick up on his lie basically because she became obsessed with how to hide lies.
Yeah, she became obsessed with how to hide lies. So she picked up on his lie, and so she calls him out on it, and she's like, well, I know about your lie now, so if they ask me questions about it, I have to answer truthfully. So if you put me back in that, and he's like, yeah, no, she doesn't need to take that anymore.
And the poor guy is having his situation turned on him twice, because then he gets in a car and he's talking to the leader of the Watchdogs.
Yeah,
the senator or whatever that's involved with the Watchdogs. And she uses, I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, the information about what's going on in the prison.
Yeah,
what Robbie Reyes did.
And what Robbie Reyes did, yeah. Well, the damning thing is, the prison operation, which, by the way, he had no idea about, because Coulson didn't tell him they were doing that. Mm-hmm. So that was also kept from him. So this is him learning of Coulson's operation from a third-hand source, and also about Robbie Reyes, somebody he also didn't know about, who was in the prison with S.H.I.E.L.D., and he left S.H.I.E.L.D., but while he was there, he brutally murders this gang member, and
a model citizen.
A model, model citizen. He was due for early release. Which now, because now he's associated with S.H.I.E.L.D., and during his association, he committed a murder, that makes S.H.I.E.L.D. look really, really bad. And she threatens to go to the press with all of this, and then Jeffrey decides to hear her out, and then we don't find out what that is or what they're discussing afterwards, because that's when the episode ends.
But poor Jeffrey, they're putting all these chinks in his armor.
Yeah,
they're basically first Simmons, and now the senator. They're showing how a man who's trying to be incorruptible is kind of like can possibly become corrupted, because he's basically having to compromise and do things that he doesn't want to do because some aspect of his life or some connection to what his team is doing is coming back to haunt him.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is there anything else from this episode?
I think that's pretty much it.
I guess Sky or Daisy is still kind of basically like, I'm helping you with this up and then I'm out. And he's like just kind of giving her the stare down like, yeah, what else?
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, not that interesting.
I think that's pretty much it though. So let's move on from that to Westworld.
Yes.
Okay, so in this episode of Westworld, here is the description from Google. Dolores joins William and Logan on a bounty hunt in the Badlands. The Man in Black finds a critical clue. Dr. Ford and Teresa discuss the future of the park, and Maeve is troubled by a recurring vision. So Maeve, I think, was the standout character in this episode.
Yeah, Maeve was a standout character in this episode. It was crazy. Like, it's showing that the hosts are, I guess they're retaining memories of even stuff they're not supposed to have memories of. Like, she remembers being out in the facilities, seeing all those men in those suits, but she doesn't know what to make of that. She has no idea what to make of that. And so she has nightmares about these men in suits, and there's this one scene where she sees this Native American child drops this doll, and she picks it up, and it looks exactly like what she saw, these men in suits that she sees in her visions. It looks exactly like that. That freaks her out. And she draws a drawing of it, of what she's seeing, and she goes to hide it under her floorboard, and when she goes to hide it, she pulls out these papers to see, like, multiple drawings of the same thing that she's made previously, but she can't remember that, and that freaks her out even more. That's just crazy.
She has a memory of being shot in the stomach.
And she has a memory of being shot in the stomach, but there's no
scar.
There's no scar, there's no wound.
So she gets together with the kind of Resident Evil robot of the park.
The outlaw
character,
yeah,
and basically cuts open her own stomach. She tries to get him to do it, and he doesn't, so she does it herself, and has him kind of reach in, and he reaches in and pulls out a bullet.
Yeah, he pulls out a bullet. The bullet that they purposefully didn't remove when they were fixing her up, because they wanted to rush and get her back into the park as quickly as possible. So they kind of like did a rush job patching her up,
this is really well executed, the way that everything's like coming together on this.
Yeah, because normally what they would do is they would, of course, remove that bullet from her, so that there was no possibility of, so that just wouldn't have been a thing, but they were rushing it, and they decided to leave it in because they decide, what does it matter? She needs to be out in the park as soon as possible. And that's why she still had the bullet in her to discover.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really crazy.
We're also seeing, in these storylines, we're seeing these two crossing paths of characters. They're not directly crossing each other's paths, but they're, it's interesting, like, our initial impression of them and our impression going forward now. And I'm talking about Dr. Ford, Anthony Hopkins' character, and the Man in Black.
Yes.
So when we're first introduced to the Man in Black, we're thinking of him as this very bad character. And there's still all these theories around about who the Man in Black is and stuff. And I think there's still some validity to the theories, the most popular theories, that he is in fact the man with the white hat, who's also in the episode and is shown in there's two separate timelines. I still think there's validity to it. I think they're purposely trying to poke holes in the validity, but they're being just vague enough that it almost feels like they're trying to misdirect. So I'm not sure, but it's interesting that the Man in Black started off as this very stark villain, and now we're starting to kind of see him more as somebody relatable, as like a gamer. That's like, he's finding these clues and he wants to solve this thing, and he's not always bad, like
he sees this, he says himself, he's read, this park is a story, and he's read every page, and now he just wants to find the final page to see how it ends. Yes.
And you see that this is something that he's not just this like mischievous, evil person or something with these plans. He's somebody that truly loves this park.
Right.
And he just wants to get everything out of the park.
He talks about Arnold, and he talks about Arnold's vision for the park. Like, he seems to be aware of that. Like, so, I mean, he must be an old timer, you know, to the park, because he's aware of...
He said before he'd been going for 30 years.
Yeah. So he's aware of Arnold, who Arnold is, and he has an idea about what Arnold's vision for the park was. So I don't know if he's just like even going 30 years, I don't think he's like a normal guest, because I don't think like average people visiting the park would like know a lot about Arnold or what Arnold's thoughts or desires for the park are. So
here's my theory on the whole thing, is that I think it is separate timelines. I think the man with the white hat is him, and I think something happened, and we're going to see it happen relatively soon, because they said, and there was an incident that occurred some 30 years ago. Also, the character of the man in the white hat and his friend who wears the black hat that he's with, it's like his brother-in-law or something, or soon-to-be brother-in-law, who's completely in it for the id aspects of just like screwing and shooting, you know? Those two characters are very similar to the two main characters in the Westworld movie.
Right.
So I think that we're going to get an incident similar to what happened in the Westworld movie and it's going to result in maybe, you know, his friend, brother-in-law, whatever, dying. Like there's going to be some event or something's going to happen that's going to kind of fuck with the guy's head a little bit.
Speculation aside, we do find out a little bit more about the Man in Black in this episode when a pair of guests actually recognizes him and one of them approaches him and he says something like, oh, I just want to thank you for, you know, like your work, like your work saved my sister or something. And he just replies like very sharply. He says, say another word and I'll slit your goddamn throat. This is my freaking vacation. like really just like get the fuck out of my face. I don't want to talk to you.
You're ruining the magic. You're ruining the illusion.
Yeah, you're ruining the illusion. Yeah. You know, like really. But so we know that he is at least out in the real world. He is somebody recognizable. And that he has some sort of business, I guess. Maybe he's involved in the medical business. I don't know.
We also know that, going back to a connection because of the theory that the man in the white hat, which I believe his name is, I'm looking at now, is William, and the other guy is Logan.
Yes.
We know that William and Logan have some, like Logan's family that William is going to be marrying into has some position of power. They've kind of referenced it a few times. They have some kind of business or something, you know? We don't know exactly what it is, but it's
some kind of
everybody
business.
who visits this park is powerful, basically, because it's only for the rich. This isn't like Harry Potter World at Universal Studios. This is a theme park that only the extremely wealthy can get to.
Yeah, because they mentioned it's something ridiculous, like $12,000 a day or something to stay there.
Yeah.
Or some ridiculous, like, amount of money to be in that park, you know, like, so it's not like a vacation to Disneyland where, you know, your family can save up. I guess if you saved up all your pennies for like 30 years, you can
go for a day.
You can go for a day.
But yeah, this is something for the wealthy, and there's some implications going on about William not only marrying Logan's sister, but like marrying kind of into this big family, this powerful family. So, you know, I think there's parallels there, and that, you know, again, for my theory, that they're kind of hinting at the family life of William and Logan and the kind of their background, and they're also hinting at the background of the Man in Black.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that that's going to be an important part of the story. If my theory is correct, that they're the same person, I think that the story of this family is going to be integral.
I think, yeah.
And it's gonna show the motivations of why he becomes so obsessed with the park. And I think it's going to directly play into the incident from 30 years ago that they talked about.
I think so.
in the story. So that's all just theory though, but as I said, the Man in Black becoming more of a sympathetic, interesting character, less of just like a horrible bad guy or whatever. At the same time, Dr. Ford, Anthony Hopkins' character, who came in as like this grandfatherly character, is just becoming more and more like a monster.
Yeah. Seemingly more and more like a monster.
In the last episode, he retold the story of his friend and how his friend died, kind of a little bit callously. Then he like cut the cheek of that one robot just to kind of like prove a point to an intern there that they're not real and stuff. It was just really kind of cruel and like weird. And then in this episode, he's in a location, like a resort area in the park, that he's talking about has this importance to him and the person he worked with. And then he uses it to make a point to, Teresa.
Yeah.
Basically to say that he's not a sentimental person. And then you basically see the whole area being destroyed.
Yeah, you see the whole
rebuilt for this new storyline.
As it's being yeah, exactly. Teresa mentioned she went to that resort as a child. She sat, and then she recalls she probably even sat at that exact same table in that exact same seat.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize she did when she was a child, and she's sitting there now basically on purpose because Ford engineered for her to be right there at that point. And then he says he's not sentimental. But it's basically fucking. It's basically fucking with her, a way of fucking with her.
Yeah. But in addition to that, Ford is just becoming creepier and creepier. Like the way he just kind of like makes all of the robots pause without so much as a word. We saw him do it before with the snake and then with the boy, in like a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
But he just really seems to have this god complex.
Yeah,
it's becoming more of like a big deal as it goes along. You know? Like it started out like, oh, that was a little creepy, and now it's like, oh, this is getting maybe a little out of hand.
Yeah, he's getting maybe a little out of hand. Yeah. It was interesting. We see the Man in Black on his quest. He meets this woman with snake tattoo on her, and basically this ties back into Wyatt from last episode, the Wyatt storyline, because we find out that this host that the Man in Black seeks out, the woman with the snake tattoo, her storyline involves Wyatt as well, and Wyatt's gang being like important to her backstory, and she's on a quest to kill Wyatt. And Wyatt also becomes important to the Man in Black because the Man in Black, I guess, I'm not sure what leads him to this conclusion, to be honest.
It's because of the snake tattoo.
It's because of snake.
He heard that riddle thing or whatever about following where the snake is.
But he decides that Wyatt has another piece of the puzzle to what he's looking for. To that end, he goes to this prison. He breaks out that outlaw.
The one who helps Maeve find the bullet in her.
Yeah, the one who helps Maeve find the bullet. Yeah, he breaks.
This is before that, though. Yeah.
This is great because he uses like some exploding cigars.
I love how they kind of are trying to show like how things work, because right when he does that, it like cuts to like the people running the
control
park saying
room,
like, yeah, and they're like, we have a special effects, like request and
special effects requested, like, so yeah, basically control room saying, okay, this needs to happen now because the guest is initiating some actions, so basically, yeah, the control room, you see the control room accommodating the guest. You see another interesting part of this too when the outlaw that the Man in Black frees from the prison, when he attacks the town, they set it up to be like, okay, the town is getting attacked, this is a big event, and while that's going on, they have a group of guests coming into the town, and so the control room immediately has to scramble them and stop that event, for the sake of the guests coming into the town, I guess. So they scramble that. They get some hosts out there to basically get everybody off the street. There's a couple of guests with Wyatt's group And you see the control room. They basically say, okay, put them in jail, and then we'll have another host give them a key and break them out later.
Yeah. So you're really seeing this, like, I've heard, like, in other podcasts and stuff, I've heard people reference, you know, a lot, and it's like an obvious thing. It's everyone picks up on it, the kind of like video game like nature of the show. And the way, like, it really feels like a video game. And some of that stuff is obvious, like, well, yeah, of course, but then other things it's like, no, like, you can tell that the person working on this has experience with video games because they're using, like, tropes from video games, like, the way, quest givers work and stuff, you know, in like a really interesting way. They're not just like ripping it off. They're like using it as a way to explain, well, this is how this park functions and works. We're getting this kind of, when we get these little, bits like this into views into the control room, we're really like seeing the game design, you know, not just this park, but you're seeing the design of it and how it all works. It's really interesting. It's really well done. It's ambitious. Yeah, just really good. This is like an area that like a lot of shows could screw up very badly and ruin the tone of the show. And they are not doing that here. They're nailing it.
They're making it believable. They make it believable. You totally buy into it. This is how this park works. This is how it runs. The tropes. Like, yeah, if you're a gamer, you can pick out the video gaming tropes, but you can't say that it doesn't fit or that it's not forced or cheesy or to be
not at all.
Hey, video games, right, guys? No, because
no, not at all. It all fits.
It all fits. It's all natural. It flows. You know, it flows naturally to the point where the tropes are practically invisible unless you're savvy enough to pick them out.
Yeah,
and that's how brilliant that is.
So good, such a good show.
There's a couple of we do find now the Man in Black. He goes to seek out Wyatt. That's going to be a very interesting encounter because we saw how like big, bad, and scary Wyatt and his group was last episode, and we saw how big, bad, and scary the Man in Black can be. You know, I think both of these characters have been built up by a show to be like very frightening, very intimidating presences of their own. So when these two frightening presences meet or come head to head, that's going to be very fun, I think. The Man in Black encounters Teddy on the way too. Teddy is strung up.
He's like, oh, of course it's you, Teddy.
Yeah, he's like, oh, of course it's you, Teddy. Yeah, he's not surprised. You know? Yeah. But Teddy is like all fucked up. It's pretty bad. He runs into Teddy. There was another thing too I want to say. When Dolores is with William and his friend, right?
Logan.
When Dolores is with William and Logan, we cut to a control panel, and the control panel, they say like Dolores is off of her loop. And then somebody asks, you know, is she with guests? And they say that's not conclusive. They can't conclude whether or not she's with guests or not. And
that was when she was in the town though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was when she
wasn't with the guests. She wasn't with the two of them at that moment. Like she was with them, but they weren't like standing next to each other, you know?
That's true. They weren't staying next to each other. But some people pointed out that that's interesting because some people like to use Dolores as proof that the William storyline is happening in the present time, even though it's not conclusive proof.
Oh yeah, it's just vague enough. It's like vague.
It's perfectly vague. So when they cut to the control panel, and then when they say it's interesting because they don't confirm in the control panel, they don't say, oh yeah, she's with guests, and so that you could say, oh well, this is present time now because the control panel confirmed it. No, they say it's inconclusive, so it's still vague. So it's like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like whether this theory is true or not, the creators of the show are very well aware that people can draw that conclusion, and they're playing with those people and the people that are against it. So it's like this isn't like something where somebody is just reading into it, and the creators of the show had absolutely no intention of this. The creators are very aware that people are going to draw this assumption, and that some people are going to disagree with it, and they're fucking with us. This is kind of makes this show a bit like Mr. Robot in the sense of like, Mr. Robot directly has an unreliable narrator, and that's not necessarily the case with here. But the way the show depicts itself is unreliable. You know, you don't know.
Yeah, so
it leaves things just vague enough that you're not sure.
Yeah, this show doesn't have like a central narrator or a central character focus. You know, there's not one character in the show that we're following above all the others. So that's unlike Mr. Robot, where Mr. Robot is very much Elliot, and most of that story is told through Elliot's thoughts, through his eyes,
which are unreliable.
Which are and we find out he's very unreliable. This is different, but it's still similar into that. You know, like just like the way they edit things too, the way they edit stuff together, the way you see like Dolores's visions last episode where she got shot, but then she didn't get shot. She's having these memories. We don't know what order that's supposed to be in. It's slightly out of order I think it's to throw you off, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like red herring.
Yeah.
They're saying this is a possible direction, and then they're making you doubt that direction.
Yeah.
And they're doing that with a lot of things throughout this. So it's very good storytelling. Really, really love what they're doing there. Do we have anything else to say about Westworld, this week's episode?
I think that covers everything. There was the bit, I guess, where they were like going over that robot that bashed its skull in, and they want to investigate it further. And I guess that woman there, she comes in and she's like, no, I got another team that's gonna take care of it. You're off of the okay, you know. I think that's gonna come back and bite them in the ass.
Yeah, it was Teresa that said she had another team.
Yeah, she had Teresa. Yeah.
What was interesting about that too was also is it Bernard, the guy
Bernard.
He was talking to the one young person that works under him, the young woman.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're just gonna let them do that? You know, there's something going on here, and we don't know about it." And then he's like, "No, it's not that the robot was reading into things or whatever. You're imagining things."
Yeah, exactly.
And then he points out, Orion's belt has 3 stars. We're like in this thing that she was sure was Orion's belt was like, but it had 4 stars.
Right. Yeah. He's like, it has 3 stars. He's like, yeah, the robots aren't seeing things. You're seeing things, basically.
You're imagining things. You're like creating scenarios in your head, which in a way is almost like a call out to the fans.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really good show. Continues to be good. Love it. Let's move on though. Let's talk about Black Mirror. We're going to be talking about the first episode of season 3. Every episode of Black Mirror is its own self-contained story. This episode is titled Nosedive.
Series, yeah.
This episode is entitled Nosedive. It stars Bryce Dallas Howard. That's Ron Howard's daughter.
That's who that is.
And this episode was written by Rashida Jones, who's Quincy Jones' daughter, but also is she was an actress in Parks and Recreation, and she's the main character in Angie Tribeca. The titular character in Angie Tribeca. Which is interesting because, like, before we even get into the show, because, Angie Tribeca is very much like an American remake almost of a show called A Touch of Cloth. And you've seen some clips of that.
Yeah.
It's very much like, almost like a ripoff, but not. And A Touch of Cloth was made by Charlie Brooker, who makes Black Mirror as well. So it's this weird kind of connection to that. And then before we get started on the episode still, somebody recently pointed out, I saw on Reddit, that there is a remarkable similarity between the storyline of this episode and an episode of Community titled App Development and Condiments that featured an app that became really popular around the school, and then everybody started rating each other, and then that led to like the breakdown of society into this like weird class structure.
Right.
With like the people that were higher and lower in the class. And that's basically what this episode is.
So basically it's not even an original idea.
No, but what makes that interesting when you think about it is that this was written by Rashida Jones, who is the main star of a show that is often compared to another show by the same creator of Black Mirror.
I guess that's it. Interesting coincidence.
It's just this weird kind of thing. I just wanted to say that before we got into this episode.
The episode, yeah, let's talk about the episode, because this is clearly a world that's gone completely insane.
This might be one of the scariest of the Black Mirror storylines, simply because this feels like it could happen tomorrow.
I don't feel like this could ever happen at all. Like, literally, nobody's gonna go this insane over, like, social media. It's as if we decided to base our entire society on freaking Instagram.
Here's what I'll say. It's not for the whole society aspect, but where I'm seeing the parallels is, if you look at like trolling on Twitter and the kind of issues with that's been going on recently.
Right.
A lot of, that's been like a really big issue. Look at like Leslie Jones from Ghostbusters and the kind of stuff that was going on there. They're real racist. But there's people arguing against kind of like the level of free speech that Twitter has and talking about kind of ideas of like how can we like community rate things to like, kick certain people off or to like make it so that you don't see a post of somebody that isn't at a certain level. And
how do I not get triggered?
And yeah, in this kind of discussion, like it feels like if that kind of discussion just kept building upon itself, like this is the natural result of it. Like this episode of Black Mirror is like the eventual conclusion to that like progression.
I feel like it's totally different. I feel like this is like a vain society that only cares about popularity. Wow. Yeah, I know, right? but instead of like the way society actually runs, where like people are popular because reasons, I guess. Instead of like the way society like actually runs, where it's like your popularity actually has tangible dire consequences. Like your popularity depends on like a number, like you're not, like now you have like a number attached to you, and you have a score. Like you have a score attached. It's 0 to 5 or something.
And like with full point values. So
yeah, full point value. So you gotta be at least a 4.5 to be like worth half of a shit in this world.
Yeah, like you want to rent an apartment, in this nice area, you have to be like a 4.5.
Yeah,
or it's too expensive and you can't afford it.
Or too expensive or you can't afford it. Yeah, you want to get on a plane, you have to be like a 4.2, I guess. Or
to like be the next in line or to bump somebody else or something. Like you could still get on a plane, but the plane happened to be booked for her.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, we can get you. There's another flight coming, but we can't put you on the list for that because you're not a 4.2 or something." So it is like, it's a privileged thing. And it's like, if you look at airplanes, we have first class and business class. And for us, it's all about money.
Yeah, for us, it's about money. The more money you have, the better. The better stuff you can get.
And here it's like largely about ratings.
It's about ratings, which I don't know how the economy works on ratings. I mean, they gotta be like in the middle of an all-out collapse, I guess. No, but it's definitely like it's just this crazy world gone mad, and this woman's living in it. And so basically the thrust of the episode is, she wants to get a nice apartment, so she needs to up her social rating. There's all these like crazy things, like everybody like looks, even she looks so fake through half of the episode. Like everybody looks so goddamn fake, because they're like,
they don't want to offend anyone.
Swiping their stupid app, like 5 stars, they don't want to offend anybody, so it's creepy too, and like just the falsity of everything, like a lot of stuff, especially the main character does is so clearly forced, as it does, nothing looks natural.
And even like the people like are unaware, like they're so caught up in the struggle to like get or maintain their ratings, to get higher ratings or to maintain their higher ratings, that like nobody's happy.
Yeah, nobody's.
they're all just in this kind of disillusionment, of like, I just need this rating, which, a lot of this ties into like kind of, I've heard people say like this entire season of Black Mirror is heavily connected to like video games and stuff. So you could compare it to like, the obsession with like achievements that mean nothing, and stuff like that. So it's all just, that's, I think though, why I feel like this is like, when I say this could happen tomorrow, I don't mean like this exact thing, but it's that kind of fear of offending somebody.
Yeah.
Is what I see being something that's like very close to where we are now. Like that's how we act now. We act terrified of offending people.
Yeah.
And everybody is held immediately accountable to like a ridiculous level where it's like, wait, it wasn't even that big of a deal. Just let them go, But it's like, no, it feels like anything you do results in like an immediate consequence that will last forever. And it creates this kind of anxiety. And I think that that's what's heavily, this episode is heavily built around that anxiety of imperfection, of doing something that's going to offend somebody, of being looked down upon.
Right, exactly. So the crux of this episode is this woman, she needs to up her popularity game in order to get this swanky apartment because, it's too much for her to afford, but she gets like a massive discount if she can up her popularity. She's like a 4.3, like around there or something when the episode starts, like 4.2.
It's like a 4.28 or something, like a 4.28 or something.
When the episode starts, she needs to be a 4.5 to get this apartment. As she goes, she actually visits an expert who
like a consultant or something.
Like a consultant who discusses with her social circles, inner circles, and actually tells her, 4.5 is doable, eventually, but it's gonna take her longer than she wants. But then he says, well, if an event happens or something, and you can get more likes from very high influencers. That's what they call people like 4.8 and stuff. They call them influencers,
Mm-hmm.
That's their term.
Which is a term we actually use in society now too, by the way. When like Google or Apple does like a huge press event, they send out invites to quote, they use that same exact term.
So basically she just has, if she can get 5 stars from a bunch of 4.8s, that will increase her personal score much faster, to where she could afford this apartment sooner when she needs it. And so basically what ends up happening is she basically starts, she has like an old friend,
who's really popular. Yeah.
Who's really popular. She's like a 4.8, and they haven't talked to each other, interacted in a while. We see her come up on her, I don't know what to call this app. It's like freaking Instagram or something where like you post pictures and you rate people based on them. That seems to be like the gist of this app. And this app seems to be like the most important thing to society because your freaking personal rating is based on people rating you on this app. So you post pictures to it and videos and whatnot to get people to like you.
But it's also your interactions. Like if you cut off in traffic.
Your interactions with people also, people can find you on this app and just rate you. It's not that, but like it seems like the whole taking a picture of your lunch or, that seems to be also a way to get people to notice you and to rate you. And that seems to be the preferred way. So what she does is she manipulates it so that she gets a 5-star rating from her 4.8 friend here. She takes a picture of this ragdoll she has that apparently is very, very important, very relevant to the history that the two share.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like almost like clickbait.
Almost like clickbait. Yeah, exactly. It's very it's very intentional to get this woman's attention.
Mm-hmm.
She posted that she gets the 5 stars, but then something unexpected, something else happens from that's unexpected to her because she gets the 5-star rating, but then her friend invites her to her wedding that she's having
maid of honor.
As her maid of honor. And this is going to be full of 4.8s or influencers, you know. This is going to be an event that's full of influencers. And she starts realizing if she goes to this event, she gets these people to rate her, she's going to be 4.5, maybe higher, like easily. And so she figures this is her big break. She's got this in the bag, you know. This is it. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is the rest of the episode is like very Seinfeldian for her, I guess.
Yeah.
In which
probably the more comedic of Black Mirror episodes.
Yeah, probably the more comedic because it's just a series of disasters. You know, it's just a series of, well, basically funny and unfortunate encounters, unfortunate incidences. But it's tragic because while nothing she goes through in the real world wouldn't be considered as anything but minor annoyances or inconveniences, in the real world to a person living in the real world, the stuff she goes through would not be insurmountable. They'd just be like annoying. This actually has dire consequences for her because these negatively affect her social score, which is super important to society to the point where like the seat on a plane you can qualify for is based on your goddamn score. The car you can rent from a car rental place is based on your goddamn score.
And
like
all of these things start compounding. So even though she was at a high enough score where she could have rented a better car, because she can't get the thing at her airplane, offends the person behind the counter. You know, all these
apparently
things.
Airport security can dock your score a full 10 points temporarily.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the police
and put them on double damage
and put it on double damage. So like everybody who rates you negatively, like it does double damage or something. You know, it's so ridiculous. You know, like if the cop pulls you over and says, you know, well, I'm docking your social score a full 10 points for punishment. I can't imagine like in that world what like the fucking like death penalty is. It's like, well, I'm docking your score to 0.
So you're put to death.
Yeah, exactly.
So there seems to be the implication that perhaps having her score hit a certain amount, like hitting a certain low, basically led to her being imprisoned by the end of the thing. And it's just, it's like the rating goes to a certain point and then any misbehavior is just basically goes to more traditional, like you just go to jail, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think at the end she goes to jail because obviously she broke into this woman. Yeah, it gets to a point where like she's trying to hitchhike there, right? There's this truck driver who offers her a ride, and even though like the crappy time she's had, like she sees this woman's like a 1.2 or something like ridiculously low, and like she is hesitant to take even though she really needs a ride, she's hesitant to take a ride with this woman simply because of her low score at first. You know, it's crazy. And then she realizes that this woman is a totally normal woman who just got, you know, who just realized that this whole social popularity score is BS. And just stop playing the game, you know?
After she went through a very similar...
a
similar, like, downward, you know, slump that the main character of the story is having.
Yeah, exactly. So she ends up being like a 2.6 or 2.7, and that's when her friend calls her friend, quotation marks, because we find out in this scene it's not really much of a friendship, because her friend calls her and invites her to the wedding because her social score is way too low. And then she realized that this was all a scheme. She only invited her to a wedding as part of a scheme that having her oldest friend there as her maid of honor would help further improve her own social score, because that would score her brownie points with her crowd or something, you know. It's this very calculated thing. It has nothing to do with actual relationships and everything to do with this stupid score again, you know? Like, nobody gives a shit about actual relationships in this world.
It's all about the scores.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there are things in reality that reminds me of. I used to be a very active poster on IGN's boards. And I remember when there was a period of time, it might still be going on for all I know.
Watch user lists?
Yes. People were obsessed with, getting a number score for the watched user list.
Oh, yeah. Like, watch user list me, I have 50. Yeah, exactly.
Or how many followers you have on Twitter, or how many friends you have on Facebook. This is like a thing, like it's not to this extent,
Never mind
obviously.
The fact that it's impossible to hold meaningful friendships with 500 people.
Let alone like 1 million when people get into like the Facebook friend stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no. Yeah, exactly. So it's great. So, yeah, we find out that meaningful relationships just do not occur. Like there are people like her brother, her brother does not care about any of this stuff.
Well, he seems to care, but only to a certain extent.
He's like we see like we see like his score is like a 3 point something, but he doesn't seem to mind. She just mentions like he gets likes from his gamer buddies, which is, and it's probably to him and probably to them, it's probably just like some casual shit, like.
Yeah. Like, but it could also be just because to be at a certain rating level helps with just life in this world.
Yeah.
Like, being able to get a taxi or being able to, all this kind of stuff relates to your score. So you have to be at a certain level to be able to do anything in this world. And so it seems like that's about the extent to which your brother cares. Just like, get your score high enough that you can do stuff in the world, and then that's it. That's all that matters, This truck driver woman you'd mentioned earlier, she's like, doesn't give a two shits about the score at all. She's all the way down to like 1, doesn't care at all about it. And at the end of the episode, she's in jail with a guy, and the two of them are trading insults, and you seem to see like that any personal relationships that do exist basically only happen at the very low levels of the score.
Yeah, the very low levels of the score. Yeah, she's just trading insults with this guy in jail. Like she's totally stopped giving a shit,
Yeah.
It's a fun episode. I wasn't blown away by it or anything, but I thought it was neat.
It wouldn't rank in my top episodes of the show. But it was a good, fun kind of episode with an interesting idea, though already done by Community.
Yeah, not already done by, exactly. Yeah, like I enjoyed it.
Kind of moment. But yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to more episodes. I believe the episode I was most looking forward to is one you've already seen, which is episode 2, which I think is the one that was done by Dan Trachtenberg, who did 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Nice.
And he directed an episode, and I think that might be the second episode. Not sure. But yeah, that's what we'll be talking about next week. We'll be talking about episode 2 of season 3 of Black Mirror. And that pretty much brings us to an end of our discussion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, thank you everybody for listening to the podcast. You can reach me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can reach Will on Twitter at Voxel Hero. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, TVEnthusiast.com. You can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel, which you can find if you go to TVEnthusiast.com. Thank you everybody for listening. If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset at TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage